When your husband is there, but also he's not really there because he's checked out, it's one of the loneliest feelings in the world. I remember how dark that felt and how much it hurt to be married to someone who wouldn't talk to me or look at me or comfort me when I was upset. But then I learned the number one hack that changed the dynamic completely and got me the marriage I have now, where my best friend is back and he's tender and caring and I feel desired and connected. And this hack didn't just work for me. It's worked for thousands of women all over the world who now feel more emotionally connected and loved. So if that's what you want too, you're going to love this. And if this emotional distance has been going on for a long time at your house, you may feel a wave of hopelessness as you hear this. Like things will never get better with your man because that's just how he is. Like you've already tried everything. And maybe you've even felt disappointed that you didn't notice it sooner about him, like before you chose him. Well, I thought that too, but I was wrong. I had so much power to get him to respond to me better with more tenderness and deep conversations and playfulness. So his emotional detachment doesn't have to be a life sentence of loneliness for you if you know what to do and you're brave enough to do it. This does take some courage. And I don't think you'd be here if you weren't pretty brave and willing to do things that you've never done before to get a marriage you've never had before. So thank you for being a part of this journey to make your marriage shiny and amazing, by the way. I admire your commitment and your dedication to having a great relationship. And I'm just so glad we found each other so that I can make videos like this one about my favorite topic, which is having a great relationship. It doesn't have to take a long time to turn this around either. Thousands of women that I've worked with over the last 25 years reported that they felt like they had a new husband in about 2 weeks after they started using the 6 intimacy skills. But some report big improvements sooner than that, like the first day they tried them. And by the way, if you don't know what the 6 intimacy skills are, if you haven't read The Empowered Wife or listened to it yet, the book, go get the free Adored Wife Roadmap at lauradoyle.org/roadmap right now. All right, here's how you can cure your emotionally distant husband. And to really understand this, first you have to understand what it means to be on your paper. So remember when you were a kid in school and you were supposed to keep your eyes on your own paper and your own assignments, and your teacher was like, don't be peeking at your neighbor's paper, right? Well, in marriage, staying on your paper means tending to your own feelings and desires and actions rather than trying to control your husband's. So my paper is where all my decisions are, like what I do with my time, my attitude, my tone of voice, what time I go to bed, and what I have for lunch. And my husband, John, has his own paper with all of his decisions on it too. But early on in our marriage, I got confused and I thought that our two papers had become one paper and that I was responsible for not just my paper, but his paper, which I thought was now our paper. Like I really thought that that was my job. My duty as John's wife was to make sure that he was wearing the right outfit and spending our money the right way and eating healthy and not wasting too much time watching car chase videos. All right. Of course, I wasn't responsible for any of that when we were dating and falling in love. At that time, I thought his paper was so shiny and amazing. I didn't think he needed to change a thing until we got married. And that's when I realized I was way smarter than him and also a lot more spiritually evolved than him, which is not very spiritually evolved. So when I was all over his paper trying to tell him how to improve, a couple of things were happening and none of them were very good for our emotional connection. First, he felt defensive because I was unknowingly criticizing the way he dressed, the way he spent money, and the shows he watched. I also made him feel defensive for ordering a Coke with dinner, which I knew, but he apparently did not realize was a total waste of money and also too much sugar. Whereas getting a chocolate dessert was money well spent and worth the empty calories. Yeah. Well, that dinner where he couldn't order a Coke was mighty quiet. So talk about emotionally checked out. It would have been easier to start a fire with two sticks in the rain than to start a conversation with him. So being a keen observer of human behavior, I noticed that he was distant, and that terrified me. I was scared and I felt lonely, and I desperately wanted reassurance that everything was going to be okay. Like, come on, we're out to dinner. Let's have a nice conversation. What's wrong anyway? Why are you so quiet? Come on, talk to me. Talk to me. I was a needy, bottomless pit of desperation. I just wanted him to tell me his innermost thoughts, which preferably were about how wonderful and beautiful I am and how much he loved me. But the more I tried to get him to open up and talk to me, the worse it got. And he didn't seem to care that I was now feeling distressed because he wouldn't talk to me. So that's how emotionally checked out he was. Now, what does any of this have to do with staying on my paper? Well, great question. Nothing. The answer is nothing. My paper was going down the street like a car with no one at the wheel, trying to feign an injury to get some attention because no one was paying attention to it. No one was tending to my paper. All I could focus on was his paper, like which beverage he should drink and how emotional he should be and how much he should talk. But if I had been paying attention to my paper, I think I would have had a very different focus. On my paper, I was feeling stressed about my crazy commute to work in LA traffic and wondering if the corporate environment was for me. But instead of sharing any of that and letting him support me, which would be so much more appealing and authentic, we were locked in a stalemate of me trying to pull him out of his shell and him retracting as far as possible. I wish I had known then how to get back on my paper when I'd wandered off of it. I'm pretty good at it now, and that has saved me a lot of grief and a lot of distant, icy dinners. But I'm not perfect. Like recently, I was paddling really hard to create a free masterclass for women who are interested in relationship coach certification. And I overdid it with work. I was overdone, overextended, overtired. And John was working really hard too. So when he got the chance to take a break, he took a nap. But I was still working. And because I was envious, I got all on his paper about why he was so tired. And by the way, that's when I'm most susceptible to getting on John's paper is when I am overtired or stressed. And maybe you can relate to that. A lot of women find that that's true for them too. So at least now I notice when I'm getting on his paper, even if I try to disguise it as concern about why he's so tired. In the bad old days, I didn't even realize it when my paper was like stuck to the back of his paper. But now I do. So as soon as I heard myself asking him why he was so tired, which has the subtext, what's wrong with you? Or possibly, why are you so lazy? I knew I had wandered off the trail and was headed for the edge of an intimacy and connection cliff. When I'm on John's paper, I now know that that means there's nobody tending to my paper, which is where my power is, and even my attractiveness and my ability to soothe myself and to feel dignified. So I used this hack to get back on my paper pronto, and it has the added benefit of bringing us closer emotionally and bringing out his desire to connect. Here's how I got back on my paper. I asked myself these two questions. How do I feel? And what do I want? Did you get that? Write those down. How do I feel? And what do I want? And sure, I could say, well, I want him to stop being emotionally distant. I did say that for years, but that didn't get me anywhere because, check this out, it still wasn't on my paper. I was on his paper again. Yeah. The real answers to those questions are always going to be something to do with me, like that I feel tired and I want a nap too, or that I feel restless and I want to spring clean, or that I feel social and I want to see my friends, or I feel inspired and I want to write my podcast. So instead of going down the dark alley of continuing my interrogation about why he was tired, I said, when you took a nap, I was envious. I felt envious. I wanted to take a break too. And then I apologized for asking him why he was so tired, like he's a weakling. And then as I got a good look at what was on my paper, which only I can know, I wanted more than just a nap. I wanted a getaway. I wanted a vacation. So I expressed my desire in a way that inspired him. And I said, I would love to get away and go somewhere fun for a few days. And by the way, if you don't know how to express your desires in a way that inspires, that is something I want every woman who wants to feel adored to know. And you can get the formula in my video on how to get your husband to do chores without nagging. This cheap phrase about expressing your desires in a way that inspires is not just for chores. It's for everything your little heart desires. So go check that out. And the reason I'm so passionate about every woman getting her hands on that cheat phrase is because right after I expressed that desire, John booked a trip for us. So instead of being emotionally checked out, he was highly tuned into what I wanted and jumped to make me happy. All because I used this hack to get back onto my own paper instead of trying to cajole John to stop being so distant and wake up and open up, which never worked. Now, you might think that after years of your man being emotionally checked out, this is not going to work in your situation. And that's always possible. But I've been privileged to watch lots of women experiment with getting back on their papers. And I've noticed that, to paraphrase Thomas Wolfe, miracles not only happen around here, they happen all the time. So I'd love to hear what happens for you the next time you feel the urge to wake your husband up because he seems so checked out, and you instead check with your own heart and soul by saying to yourself, how do I feel and what do I want? And notice the shift in your emotional connection. For more of the proven secrets on how to make your marriage playful and passionate without his conscious effort, check this out.